will be reviewing the books. I said, brother, the instruction you give, I have no choice. I must say yes. And I said yes with so much excitement and happiness. Thank you. The topic of today's lecture, at the crossroads of challenge and renewal, reclaiming the future of Nigerian universities for national and global relevance. I am starting on a note of optimism. When we talk about ourselves, let us be optimistic about ourselves. It's not the way we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago that we are now. So when we are talking about our institutions, we recognize that we have our challenges, but we also recognize the fact that as leaders that we all are, we are making progress and we are moving forward. And that is what is critical. So when we look at it, don't let us talk about the Ivy League institutions. Some of them are 400 years, 500 years old. When I was speaking with my boss this morning, he mentioned it. Oldest university in Nigeria, 80 years. 80 years in the life of an institution is short. So we are evolving, we are growing. We have challenges, no doubt, but we will surmount and overcome those challenges. And that is the mindset that we must have. So that is why I am talking about how do we reclaim the future of Nigerian universities for national relevance and for global relevance. How do we reclaim that future? So that is the breakdown of my lecture. Let me thank Dr. Wodi and other members of the organizing team. For your information, Dr. Wodi is my lecturer. So if I tell you this morning that wake up, yes. And when I say we are, no, it's afternoon now. What is afternoon? Teacher, what is afternoon now? What is afternoon? Uyala is good morning. Uyala can go for any time. So, Uyala, thank you. When you look at universities, universities are the base of transformation. They are actually the engine room for developing countries and for developing any nation. Universities are structured to do that. A time there was when we were making giant strides in our institutions, but somewhere along the line, we started having challenges. And the challenges we are having, they are things that all of us here present, we are at home with them, we know them. So I don't need to start recalling them. Maybe in terms of infrastructure, whether in terms of funding, these challenges are there. So the question we ask ourselves is, how do we move forward? And how do we recalibrate? When you look at the institutions of old, the first generation universities, Ibadan, Nsukka, Ife, Zaria, Lagos, when you look at these institutions, a time there was when we had foreigners who were coming to lecture there, who were coming to lead conversations. That is not happening again today. So we know that indeed, there was an attraction we had at a time, and that attraction is not there at the moment. So what we are looking at is, how do we surmount and come around these deeper misalignment that we've been having in our institutions? When I was asked that, what do you want to talk about? I told myself, I said, in giving this topic, I said, the transition of one vice chancellor to another is a major change in the life of a university. Because you see a situation where legacies that were on ground before are going to be further developed by those who are coming behind. Lale is just not a friend. Lale is a brother, and share a common bond. Lale was the 8th Vice Chancellor of University of Port Harcourt. I was the 8th Vice Chancellor of Lagos State University. Lale was a leader in terms of reform agenda. Go and do a Google search of Lale Fagbon. I was fighting battles and battles and battles. The reasoning, anybody who wants to do reforms, you will step on toes. And that is the kind of thing that Lale experienced. And that is why my summation of Lale here is that, yes, you will read of Lale's exploits in the first script, but Lale is without a doubt a man dedicated to duty, visionary leadership, and enduring legacy. As you celebrate 7 decades of life today, I pray for continued blessings and laughter for you and your family in the years ahead, surrounded by your loved ones. Happy birthday. My reflections today is on the burden of leadership and the possibilities of renewal. I will interrogate why we have the persistent misalignment. And I am so glad when the cleric gave the exhortation and he drew on the impact of good leadership. And that is what it means when you look at a leader, the vice chancellor of an institution. When you look at him, he is the intellectual chief officer that is supposed to be he knows all, so to say, with his team. But when you look at the environment in which our vice chancellors are working, some people say it's a thankless job. I say it's a job where at the end of the day, you can only say to yourself that I have done my bit. If you go to other climes, succession is not as tough as it is here. If you go to other climes, the vice chancellor is focused on the work that he has to do. But if you are here in Nigeria and in some other African countries, you find out that you are battling so many things that will distract you. Pray for energy and pray for able lieutenants around you, loyal lieutenants around you to support you. Pray for this because you will need them. At the end of the day, where the vice chancellor is able to play his role very well, you will see the impact in the life of the unit of that institution. Where the vice chancellor is not able to do that, you will also see the impact in terms of the slow progress that the institution is making. When the chairman of this occasion was talking this morning, he made allusions to the kind of developmental strides that he's making here. Those are the kind of things you see when leadership of institution is not distracted. And that is why when we have opportunity like this, it is an opportunity for us to reflect and ask ourselves, you as a vice chancellor on the seat now, is your task to witch hunt the man that has gone? Or is your task to focus on the job that is at hand? The job, for my mind, it is for you to focus on what is at hand. Of course, this material will be online, and also they will have it to be able to make it available. But a first question that I asked, when you are talking about a renewal and taking care of the future for Nigerian universities, the first question I asked is, what is the Nigerian university for? What is the goal of the Nigerian university? It can be one of 4 things, and it can be all. The first one is instrument of mass access for as many people to be able to have education as possible. The second will be elite formation, to have those who will be elites in the system, those who will be the lord of the manor and ruling it over others. The third one is workforce preparation, to prepare those who will work within the system, those who will be the leaders within the system. And then the final one is global knowledge production. That is going into the realm of innovation. I welcome our royal fathers. I'm sure the compeers will do a better job of it. My position on this, when you look at what Nigeria is doing at a point, you will see that it will appear that we are confused as regards what exactly we want to achieve. We have universities, we have polytechnics, we have colleges of education. Suddenly you see all of them being merged because we appear to give more relevance to universities. Whereas when you look at the philosophy, universities are supposed to be the engine room for theorizing about what the issues are. Polytechnics are supposed to be dealing with the practical hands-on. And the colleges of education are supposed to be for training those who are going to be operating in these systems. So at the end of the day, you intend something that is collaborative, all of them working together. But we have a situation where we have lumped everything together because we continue to give pride of place only to universities. We need to give pride of place to all our institutions, recognizing the philosophy for setting them up. Again, you see us. We set up University of Agriculture. At the University of Agriculture, we start doing everything. You set up University of Education. The University of Education will start doing everything. You set up different institutions. And my view is that for you to get the right fix of things, for you to be on the mantle, we need to be clear on the mandate of our institutions. If we are not clear on the mandate of our institutions, it will continue to be a crisscross event, and that is not what we want. Then I raised what are the issues of concern, and those issues of concern are the things I will just briefly run through, and I will go and take my seat. The first issue of concern that I raised that has consistently bedeviled our institutions: funding, autonomy, and the question of sustainability. And my summary of it is this: we recognize that there has been funding challenges. We recognize that if an institution is not well funded, there is no way that institution can be sustainable. If an institution is not well funded, that institution will be distracted. And that is why instead of investing energy in getting research grants that can result in innovation, our universities will step aside and be making bread, looking at how much money are you going to get from the bread industry. Even the individual, I'm not saying that it is wrong for an institution to make bread. An institution can make bread as part of entrepreneurship process of the institution. But when you are looking at money from bread venture to sustain the institution, people will call it wow. So there is a need for us to recognize that our institution must be focused, must be able to achieve the goals if at the end of the day they want to thrive. Side by side with funding our institution, I also call for accountability. To whom much is given, much is expected. It is only to whom nothing is given that nothing is expected. So even if you are given 5 naira, you must be able to account for that 5 naira. And I made reference in the paper. So there was something that happened in March 2025, done by the Athena Center for Policy and Leadership. And what happened was they put together about 4 federal, state, and private universities. And they found out that a significant number of them, they don't have a website that is transparent on what they're earning. They don't have a website that is transparent, that shows accountability. If money is going to an institution that is unaccountable, that money is going down the drain. If you have not been able to manage 5 naira, 10 naira well, if they give you 5 million naira, you will not manage it well. And I asked a question. When they now set up, the federal government now put in place a body that, yes, we want to maintain accountability. We are putting this body in place to be checking accountability. I asked a question. I said, National Assembly has a body that does oversight. What were they doing? State House of Assembly has their body that does oversight. Office of Accountant General, they do their own oversight. If all of these watchdogs fail and you go ahead and you set up another watchdog, if you are not careful, it will fail. So what we need to do, ask ourselves, those earlier watchdogs, why did they fail? Is it the case that they lost their focus and they were asking for some other things different from their mandate? Or is it the case that they did not have sufficient knowledge of what they need to do, which is why they were not able to achieve their goals? So it is not just a question of setting up watchdogs. It's a question of asking yourself, if this one has failed, what lessons can I learn from that failure? A second question, a second issue of concern, academic labor, distraction and erosion of vocation. I am sure quite a number of us here, we have read it, of professors. They claim that they saw some professors selling pepper. They saw some professors who are doing things that ordinarily they ought not to be doing, all in the bid to make ends meet. And the question is this: where remuneration is not competitive, nobody will stay. Where remuneration is not there, people will lose the zeal. It is, you see, there is an adage. It is only when you are happy that great things can come out of you. If you are not happy, you are not likely to be able to come out to do something well. So if they are not properly remunerated, it's a challenge. And that is why the news that came out in December, that a new agreement has been signed and that a whole lot of things will happen, we are praying that it should be able to achieve goals. Because for as long as you don't have the kind of remuneration that will make them happy, while you call people to account, you must also remunerate them well. That is why those who are away will be interested in coming back. If you don't treat them well, if you don't give them what will enhance what I will call their dignity. And I'm talking of both academic staff and non-academic staff. If you do not give them what will enhance their dignity, it will be very difficult for academic institutions to thrive. In the paper, I've given examples of what happens in Australia, United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, all in the bid to ensure that lecturers are able to stay on focus. A third one that I discussed in the paper, research culture and the problem of relevance. Why is it that till today, we do not have a lot of things coming out that are direct productions from Nigeria? Why is it that everything has to be imported from other countries? Why is it that we have remained stagnant? As one, it is clear that there's a disconnect between our faculties and the industry. And we all say it all of the time. Most of our industries, when they need innovation, when they need to do something that will change models, they will prefer to go out, either go out to their home country or get consultants from outside to come and do it. We need to have policies that will encourage them. It is not a case of beating industry to do it. It is a case of understanding why are they not using it. Why are they not using our own institutions for their own innovations? What can be done? And I dare say that there are quite a number of products on the table. Tech Fund is doing a lot. Tech Fund is doing a lot. There are other initiatives, even by institutions. But we cannot continue to work in silos, everybody doing their own. We need to aggregate these initiatives, recognize what the problems, and I try to do that in the paper. Try to recognize what some of these problems are, and then proffer solutions to them. But for as long as we allow for a disconnect between our academic institutions, our industry setup, and our communities, there is no way that linkage that is required will happen. And that linkage is critical, because if you sit in your laboratory as an institution and you just think up a research, when you finish that research, nobody will take it from you. But if you work together with the industry to do something, That is when you already have an off-taker for whatever it is that you are doing. And whatever it can make success. You can achieve success. Oh, we did this. Oh, we did that. Oh, we also did this. The question is this. Those things that you are doing, how relevant are they to your national development? If a man is making success of, oh, I trekked to Abanema this morning. I also went to this. You must have a clear view. All those trekking, all those walking, it is geared towards what? If you are not clear about where you are going, your compass is not clear about what you want to achieve, at the end of the day, you will be a man with 1,000 steps with nothing achieved. And that we cannot allow that to continue to happen with our institutions. Then I talked about access, equity, and the promise of student loan schemes. One of the things, very worthy things that have come out of this administration is the student loan scheme. Because it is something that will enable our students to be able to access education with ease. But a lot of things we must be ready for and watch out for. We don't want a student loan schemes that will take our young citizens into crisis. Before they start their life, they are already so indebted. And what I've done in the paper, I've given examples of jurisdictions where loan schemes has worked well. I've also given examples of institutions where loan schemes has failed. And my say is that we need to have a clear understanding of what we are doing. Another thing is, those who are involved in the loan schemes, the name of the game is accountability, accountability, accountability. Where there are issues, the students must have easy recourse to make complaints and be heard. Because if all of these things are not there, a beautiful initiative will be on the table and it will die. A beautiful initiative will be on the table and it will not achieve these goals. So if we want the loan scheme to achieve that goal that is intended, then the system must stay alert, not only to putting it in place, but also evaluating it and monitoring it. And of course, as I said, I gave a number of examples of how that can be done. Then, academic welfare, brain drain, and global competition. And the simple point I made there is this. No matter what you do, some people will still have a desire to go out. And it is not an idea for people to go out. Japa is not bad in itself. Because at the end of the day, those who japa will one day jump back. So it is not a problem. But where the problem is here don't make the internal environment sufficiently conducive in welfare. Then you don't see an incentive for anybody to want to come back. And you only see an incentive for people to want to go. So in my own position, I stated that brain drain requires what I call a dual approach. Retain where possible, connect where external mobility occurs, and integrate the benefit of global exposure into domestic institutional development. And it is only by adopting policies, which I noted earlier, in terms of competitive wages. And when I talk about competitive wages, I'm not just talking about salaries. There are other incentives, which I've also discussed in the paper, that you can bring to bear to retain people. Because if you are not careful and you are just focused on increasing wages, as you increase the wages, inflation will also, because the moment the market woman is aware that you have increased wages, the market woman will also go ahead and increase price. So there are other things within the system that you can do to make sure, and I've mentioned them in the paper. I will not go to them because of time. Then, of course, I talked about innovation, creativity, and the university as an ecosystem. And what I've just said there simply is that the university, as I stated earlier, is the engine room for innovation. For as long as we are not allowing our universities to play that role, there is no way that we can get out of the loop of being a nation that is always relying on other nations. And that is why, for me, I'm a supporter of co-creation of technologies. Nobody will go and spend funds creating technology, evolving technologies, and you think they are going to transfer it to you. They will only transfer it to you when it has become obsolete, and there is nothing again on it. But when you co-create technology, that is why from point A to point Z, you know what is involved in terms of the design, you know what is involved in terms of evolving it, you know what is involved in terms of repairing it, and you will not need to start looking for anybody or abandon it when you have put it in place. So that is why it is very, very important that we embrace that. Then I also talked about regulation, accreditation, quality assurance, the challenge of sustainable development. And the point I made here is that NUC is the one saddled with accreditation, quality assurance. Quite a number of times, all these steps are taken. But you find out, my experience of it is, at times, when you see that accreditation teams are coming, that is when we struggle and run around to improve on this step. That is cosmetics. How many more minutes? 3 minutes. Good. At least I'm trying. When you see that accreditation is on the way, that is when we run around to try. That should not be. We should have a stable system that allows for repairs, innovation, rekitting, retooling our laboratories, our lecture rooms, and everything on a regular basis. So it should not be a case of we do it once in a year based on somebody coming. And at the end of the times, we even go and rent. So these are not the kind of things that we need. And I discussed it extensively on what I think we should be doing. Then another concern that I raised there relates to issues of ethics, power, and the morals of our communities. I'll give an example of this. From time to time, we have had issues being raised about whether or not universities should manage dress code. There are two schools of thought. There are those who believe that universities should not concern themselves with dress code. And there are those who believe that universities must be interested in dress code. If you want to understand my own perspective, you need to read the paper. But the bottom line for me is that our institutions are to enable character and learning. You cannot run away totally from some measure of dress code. But at the same time, respect human rights. Don't let it be focused on one gender. Let it be something that will not be unreasonable. And at the end of the day, do it in a way that will show that you respect the people who are there and that you just want to correct them. Of course, the final point that I made there is that artificial intelligence, digital divide, those are the future of the universities. And we cannot run away from artificial intelligence. What is my conclusion? Because I can see. Then I also talked about ranking of universities. You will see there my views on ranking of universities. Because when you look at ranking of universities, the last one, UI came first. And then, of course, you see some of the other universities. I think about 3 universities were well ranked from Nigeria. My position is this. When you look at ranking, you cannot really, looking at the metrics of it, you cannot really be comparing us with Ivy League institutions who have been there in the last 400 years. But we can begin to engage in it vigorously to understand some best practices that will work for our context. So at the end of the day, there is a body that NUC set up at a time, NURAC. NURAC is ranking of Nigerian universities. That body needs to be strengthened, mandated, and properly focused so that they know what they are looking for when you are talking about ranking of Nigerian universities, not necessarily because we are competing with Ivy League institutions. And when we look at our own ranking of our institutions in a way that is stable, democratic, and shows respect for the institutions, you will see that you now have a healthy competition within our system. So, my conclusion, as we honor Professor Ekaite Sunday Lale today, Ekwate Sunday Lale, we are reminded that institutions outlive individuals, but leadership shapes trajectories. The Nigerian university stands at a crossroads, not merely of crisis, but of possibilities. Renewal is achievable, but only through deliberate choices, sustained investment, and a recommitment to the idea of the university as a public good. The future of Nigerian universities will be determined not by nostalgia for past glory, but by the courage of leaders here to rethink structures, realign incentives, and restore purpose. In doing so, we honor not only those who have led before us, but generations yet to come. I rest my case, and I want to heartily congratulate my brother again. Happy birthday, my dear Egon, and God bless you, Ricky.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we muster another round of applause for the guest lecturer? Thank you so much. I am careful to be reminded that he is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Am I right, sir? And so we couldn't have given you 20 minutes. It's just impossible. All right, I'd like to go to item number 8. By the kind permission of the chairman, we have skipped 7. So we'd like to invite the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, Professor Ndowa Olainka, to take the next item of reviewing the book. Please, can we put our hands together for yet another Vice Chancellor?
Yeah, the chairman of this event, the Executive Vice Chancellor of Ignatius Ajuru University, all the Royal Highnesses at the high table and at the other high table, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can hear me at the back. I hope you can hear me. Okay, and maybe some of the students of Professor Lale. Just like my friend and brother who has just spoken, I was pleasantly surprised when Professor Lale called me and said he will be retiring. I knew that he's 2 years older than me. So if I were to become, so I should be calling Boda Lale. That he'll be retiring at the end of January. I gave me a very long notice, in all fairness, and that some of his colleagues will be getting in touch with me as to do the forward. So one of my senior colleagues who retired from University of Ilorin had mentored me that anytime I'm asked to do something that is an official assignment, I should always accept, unless I'm otherwise engaged. So I accepted. Of course, for me, it's nice to come back to River. I did my national youth service here. So to me, Port Harcourt is home. And I've also been to even this university on a number of occasions, when it used to be College of Education, affiliated to University of Ibadan. So to me, Port Harcourt is always home. And my own task is much simpler than that of Professor Fagbon. I recognize Professor Mrs. Lale, the guy at the top of Professor Lale, his family members and everybody. I think a group of senior members of staff, professors, senior administrators at the University of Port Harcourt, they gathered, they stormed and decided to publish this book in honor of Professor Lale. I think the 16 chapters, the book has 16 chapters, but some of the chapters had more than one author. So there were 21 of them who contributed those 16 chapters. And just like Professor Fagbon mentioned, the thing is, I'm still going to allude to it briefly. I know how many minutes do I have? Because you said I should have 30 minutes or less. But I know if students are writing exam, you give them 30 and they spend more than 30 minutes. That's exam malpractice. So I will make sure that I don't exceed 30 minutes as much as possible. Okay, this is the book. Okay, it will be presented shortly. It's fine. And one thing that occurs to me, is when you discuss with people, you find out that, in fact, I must mention straight away that Professor Lale and myself served about the same time. I think you resumed 13 July 2025, 4.5 months before me. I resumed 1st December 2015. You find out that when you look at the recent political history of Nigeria, that 2015 was a very difficult year. That was the year that the late President Muhammadu Buhari assumed office, May 29th. Then they started treasury single accounts. They started all manners of things. That was a day I ran into Professor Lale in Abuja. It was looking like jellyfish. I was in a worse condition than him because they were giving us, let's assume for purpose of argument, we needed 100 million to pay staff salary. During President Jonathan, instead of 100 million, they would give us 120 million to pay salary. So we had excess. I was paying some allowances. I was Deputy Vice Chancellor under that dispensation. So it's as if they were waiting for me to become Vice Chancellor, and Professor Lale, they started reducing our money. So instead of 100 million, under President Jonathan, they will give us 120. But under President Buhari, they will give us 95. Yes, go and manage. In fact, I went for a meeting in Abuja, and I sat at the same table with Professor Rashid, who was then the Executive Secretary of NUC. I told him that, yes, is it only UI that is having problem with payment of salary? He said, for where? He said, your own problem is not as bad as some other universities. He said, the only difference that you will always externalize it. So it was so difficult. And it's in that context that when I finished my tenure in November 2020, they invited me to a public lecture at the Polytechnic in Ibadan, just next door to us. I asked one of the people there who is usher in our church at the University of Ibadan. I said, Mrs. What's her name now? How much were they selling a bag of rice when I took office? 5 years, and he said it was about 10,000 naira. But meanwhile, by the time I finished, it's had risen to 30,000 naira. And the people, it's you that they see on the campus as the Vice Chancellor. So they will transfer all the aggression to you. Because see where you are coming from. But what can you do? They won't go to Eagle Sky in Abuja to go and be demonstrating. Just go and bring money from wherever and pay us. And if a fund gave you money, those funds are labeled. You cannot veer it to another for another thing. So what I'm trying to say is that most of the challenges we have, Professor Fagbon alluded to it, that funding. So at the end of the day, an angry man is a hungry man is an angry man. So they will transfer the aggression to you as the Vice Chancellor. And but again, it's an opportunity for you to be there as Vice Chancellor for 5 years. Thank God there is no second term. And you try your best. But I think all these things, it's always good for us to look at the glass as a half full instead of half empty. See the same level of water in the glass. But I always take a very optimistic view. I've read the book over and over, and I've made some notes. But I think from all I've seen, Professor Lale has done very well. That's not, when I was preparing to be Vice Chancellor, one of my senior colleagues said, look, you have only 5 years. After the 5 years, you should be able to say, in spite of all the challenges, that we're able to do 1, 2, 3. Finish. University, Professor Fagunwa, the fact that university education in Nigeria is probably less than 80 years old. We can then compare it with Oxford or Cambridge. They also still have their own challenges, even as we speak. And university is a going concern. In 30 years' time, 40 years' time, if my Lord Jesus Christ tarries in the second coming, University of Port Harcourt will still be done. The same thing with other universities. So there will always be challenges. But just make your own impact and you live. When I was having a lot of issues, one of my senior colleagues who used to be vice chancellor at Bafema University, he said I should not worry myself. That there will always be problems. I should just try my best. And but of course, we have to remain focused. And I think it's in that context that we sympathize. I mean, one of my teachers in UI, who later became a vice chancellor at Federal University of Agriculture at Umudike, he said the period that he served as vice chancellor damaged his health. Yes, that he damaged his health. And I've had similar experience with other people. And if something is becoming a common feature, people, and of course, people are going to judge you by their own standard. They cannot understand why. I mean, they appointed Professor Lale to lead University of Port Harcourt, not to be catching those who cheated in exams. So why did he make it his headache to be chasing people who cheated in exams? So, like I said, 21 of the colleagues here contributed in 16 chapters. So the title is Ndowa E.S. Lale, A Legacy of Vision, Mission, and Impactful Leadership. And this morning I was just reflecting. If I was asked to give another title to that book, I would just say the fundamental achievements of Professor Lale, the 8th Vice Chancellor of University of Port Harcourt, in spite of all the challenges. Because look, I'm not going to be interested in whether students drove you out of the Vice Chancellor's lodge. That's already after you apply for the job. What is important, or what is probably more important, is what are the lessons? Because I read something there in one of the chapters, one of his colleagues, and that's also why part of the thing that you must be ready to listen to ideas. I'm sure when Professor Lale was a candidate for Vice Chancellor, he didn't promise that he was going to establish a Chinese institute. But one of his colleagues went to Nambiasco University and saw this beautiful thing there. He said he encouraged Professor Lale, and Professor Lale jumped at it. And I think it's the first of his type in South-South. So those are the things that it will be there. Even if you have a crazy vice chancellor at University of Port Harcourt, it's not likely to scrap that. We will say, even if you are mad, why are you going to scrap this? So those are things that we can always relate to. I mean, the business school, there are so many things that you did. There will always be challenges, but to me, you feel happy that I did want to. When I look at this, my cell phone, just like the one all of us carry, it has both hardware and software. The hard one is the one that all of us can see, but the software that is powering it. To decide the software, quality assurance, those are the things that probably more enduring, but you cannot see it. I mean, if it's just you join your wires together, microchips, it's not going to, of course, you want to go by both or whatever. It's the software. All of us use one kind of app or the other. So there will always be areas in which you can make your own impact. Because funding was really tough. Like I told you, if I tell people that it's the University of Ibadan was waiting for me to become vice chancellor before they started underfunding the university. Ironically, it was the same period that Professor Lale served. And anything that affects the function of the federal government will affect you. And you cannot move money from one vote to the other. Otherwise, I mean, one of my friends, who is a senior person, he was actually acting vice chancellor. He sold the shares of the university when they were hard pressed. He ended up in the AFCC. Had to go, he was almost retiring that time. We had to go there. He spent about 2 nights in EFCC cell in Ibadan. So those are the issues. But of course, people that you are relating with will not be bothered. So I think the beauty of this book is that it's like an eyewitness account of the tenure of Professor Lale by people who are watching. The only contributions by Professor Lale to this book was that he put his vision document there as Appendix 1, I think. Then the first Senate meeting, special Senate meeting that he attended as Vice Chancellor. So the address is there. Also his CV, his biodata, a brief CV is the third appendix. So you can, otherwise, the main body of the work were of course, people are always watching you. And I must say that I was really very impressed. I don't know, I think there were 2 people who wrote the chapter 1. The person is now in one other university. You are the person. You must have read one of the humanities courses. Eh? In English major one, you're punished for the humanities scholar. I mean, the level of, I mean, from exception, I must confess. I didn't have any doubt that these are students of Chino achieving. So I think you have just very few mistakes that, or typographical errors, which is not unexpected. I indicated those things. And of course, the idea is that all of us should try to get copies of the book, so I will not bore you. I think there are 16 chapters, so I don't have to go through them by line by line. Another feature of the book is that at the end of each chapter, you have a list of references. So, and like Professor Fago mentioned, his lecture will be on the university website. Even my own, this book review, I mean, let people also read it and see. And the point is often made that when you campaign for the office, your campaign is in poetry. But when you get to the office, it's going to be in prose. You say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But it's now when you assume office that you see the reality. That because nobody aspires to an office to say, I'm going to be a failure, I'm going to be a disappointment, because otherwise your children and grandchildren will never forgive you, because it's an opportunity for you to showcase what you have, knowing full well that you're not going to solve all the problems. So we have all this is inaugural address to congregation, then is a bridge CV is there. And the one thing I've observed is that all of us, we rise through the system. You are appointed maybe assistant lecturer or lecturer too. Of course, Professor Lale had his first missionary job, work in the University of Maiduguri before he went abroad and came back home. I mean, I think he said he was the foundation dean of Faculty of Agriculture. So you see, the people are watching you. Like one of our colleagues said, when you join UI as a lecturer, grade 2 or assistant lecturer, people are already watching you. It's not 15 years, 20 years down the line when you now want to contest election. People that were not greeting on the corridor before, you start greeting them. They will easily see through your game. So what I'm saying in essence is that somebody had been dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, I think the foundation dean. It was originally Faculty of Agriculture. It was doing very well. Then somewhere along the line, I think there was some time you said you applied for VC-ship in one university, came first, but the powers and principalities decided not to give him, that he should wait for his own time. And so as dean, I'm sure he must have done excellently well. But when he now becomes the VC, it's a different ball game. Because of course, the dean of the faculty didn't pay salaries, it doesn't pay excess workload and all those things. So honestly lies the yes that wears the crown. It's now when it when he wants to become VC that who we. I mean, like I told Professor Lale yesterday, myself, I was to resume, I was appointed 9th of September 2015. 3 weeks later, I traveled to the US. My brother called me that they said I was already petitioned against my appointment. So the whole of October of that year, the whole of November, I was in the trenches. And in fact, they went to court. Said that one of the people who served on the Joint Council Selection Board that I assessed when he was being considered for promotion. But why was that my fault? I didn't appoint myself as one of the internal assessors. I'm from the Faculty of Science. The gentleman is now retired, was the Faculty of Technology. So that's me to assess it. So why is it now my fault that 2 years, 3 years down the line, the members of Senate, they elected him actually as a member of the selection board? Why is that one now my offense? But of course, they will go and cook up stories, but it's fine. And even the person whom I took over from, he was appointed around 2nd September of year 2010. For the next 3 months, in fact, his wife asked me, what is happening about this is my husband that has been elected or appointed vice chancellor. Just 2 minutes, I will be done. And I showed that, not that I was confident, but I said, let's just continue to pray and fast. So when somebody has already been appointed, what is the essence of praying and fast? Is it not just for him to assume the office? But in fact, on the it was to resume 1st December 2010. That was a full-page advertorial paid for in the Nigerian Tribune that the council should appoint an acting vice chancellor. So what happened to the person that council had appointed 3 months earlier? So, and if I will share the full something with you, and just one of the proverbs, I said 2 proverbs in Yoruba. because I think in Yoruba before translating to English. That's my mother tongue, unfortunately. So I translated it into English. The proverb is that it is he who had never faced a crisis situation that will refer to himself as a strong man. Because at times the battle will be so much that we almost give up. But you think not much will be gained by your giving up. Then another one that I translated is to say that the disease that afflicts one player equally affects other players. I read somewhere that the University of Port Harcourt to claim that you are a unique Uniport, but the crisis that Lale faced, they were not unique to Uniport. It's everywhere. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Please, another round of applause for the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan. Thank you very much, sir, Professor Ndowa. Time is of the essence, and so we will run along before my boss, Wadi, will ask me to drop the microphone. Let me recognize Professor Lale C. Tobira. He's in the house. Please put your hands together. The Reverend Tony Asobineo Esquire is also in the house. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I most respectfully invite the Honorable Naito Orazulike, the Chairman and Chief Executive of the Orazulike Trading Company and the Genesis Group, to unveil the books. Can you kindly, Professor Zaka, can you kindly move all the seats, because they will all come out here. He will make a statement and unveil the book. We thank you for staying put to this time.
Thank you very much. Please, just 1 minute. We did promise, and okay, all right. I'm a man under authority.
Thank you. Good afternoon, my friend, brother, Professor Lale, and Joy, the wife, the boss of Professor Lale. We fondly call her Zine. That's good mother for those who don't know, and she's a wonderful mother to all. Our host, the Vice Chancellor of Ignatius Chukwu University, thank you for having us. Esteemed member of the clergy with us, sorry I missed your name. Royal Fathers, former Vice Chancellors, colleagues, former colleagues of Professor Lale, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so they keep a certain part for businessmen. There are some intellectual ones. So we had the former Vice Chancellor speak and give us a very warm lecture on leadership times. And then the review also came from another former colleague. And then when it's time to call money, they call the businessmen. Okay, so I'm usually not a donating type, but this is a special friend of mine, and I'm going to also unveil the book and let you know what I'm going to do about that. I'm not very familiar with the protocols of unveiling the book. So it's an honor to be doing it for the first time with my dear brother. Maybe I should be reading more books in the future. I will follow my dear wife, Professor Ngozi, who is also a contributor in the book, to be reading a lot of books and perhaps start writing one day. So thank you, everybody. Professor Lale is an amazing man. It was very interesting knowing him and still knowing him and working with him when he was in the university and continuing to be a very close associate and friend of his. One of the things I like most about him is his principled nature. Even if you are his friend, the rules are the rules, and you must all obey and stand by it. And you know, in our country today, a lot of people don't like to hear that. And they always believe there can be around and you can bend things. And if you are principled, you will constantly have friction along the line. I think, and I strongly believe that a man must stand for something and must be remembered for something. And so I stand firmly with you on your firm ground for standing your ground on a lot of things. And history will always continue to judge you very fairly. And I do congratulate you on the amazing work you did at the University of Port Harcourt during your tenure. Congratulations. You know, thank you for also documenting your pathway during that period. Leadership. At some point in time in my business career, I thought that it was important. One of the things I lacked most was a full grasp of leadership, because you never know what you do to people and it will be nice. So first of all, I tried to find my way through a friend of mine on the board of Fidelity Bank, and I served there for 9 years. And subsequently, I went on in a quest for leadership, attended the Harvard Business School, and also took a particular course in leadership at the CED Business School of Oxford University. But have I found the answers? Not really, not really. It's still a quest. I'm still searching every day to find the right model that can work for people, because you never do it right. Frequently, my darling wife tries to steer me in the path she thinks I should follow in leadership as I go. So I'm still a work in progress, and I'm going to read this book to also understand how you navigated that path. So I'm not going to speak a lot more. Thank you so much for having me, and I won't take much of your time. What else do I do? Unveil the book, like opening it up, and congratulations. Thank you, and I'll make my contributions known to you. I need to be substantial. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. Kindly bring a copy and stand here. Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor Lale, Archbishop Emeritus, Venerable Mbete, Professors Olayiga and Fabo, please can you come? Just give them copies each. Give them copies. Registrar, University of Port Harcourt, can you join? Librarian, your business is keeping books. Professor Ebi, Madam, please, can you come and get a copy? Mrs. Dr. Mrs. Lale, get a copy. And all they will do, can you move this fan back? Yeah? We will invite the 2 Royal Majesties, please, to join us. The Amana of Abonima and the Onee Eleme to kindly join us. Give them copies. Yes, please, can you help us move it? Thank you. All right. Professor Lale and his wife, can you kindly, both of you, come here? Professor Lale, here, sir. Can I just make some for them? Okay, thank you.
Let's kindly request His Royal Highness Ambassador Dr. Apollos Chu OFR Onee Chair, the 10th of Eleme, Egbere Mere Okori, please to...
Professor Gali, please, can you come? Professor Gali, please, can you come and pick a book for the role you played under Lord Lesteno? Yes, it's there, it's coming. Give Professor
Walter Olo, please. Teacher of teachers, please.
Okay, please.
Thank you.
All right, we are set to go. Please, can you vacate, please? Here, sir. Okay. Ooh, here.
Tony Asabnewa, please.
Okay, please. We'll take the picture. Can you just hold the book towards the camera? All right, I'm doing this at the count of 3. Your Majesty, sir, can you kindly flip your book upside down? Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right, at the count of 3, we'll be done. Are you done? 1 is gone. 2. Just a second. Are you done? Thank you, sir. Now that you have a copy of the book in your hands, you may now decide to approach me and make a statement, starting with the Vice Chancellor of National University.
Well, there is not too much grammar. I've spoken before while I was welcoming you. Just the committee should get to me and get something from me. Like he said, something special.
Something substantial will get to the committee from
Professor Olufemi Adesope, please can you come and read the forward to the book? Can you return the lecture? Professor Adesope, please.
Martins.
Professor Olufemi
Adesope, please.
Yes, he's going to read the forward to the second book before we circulate it.
Martins, please. Professor Adesope, thank you.
This is a real scholar. And when I tell you so, agree with me that it's a real scholar.
Good afternoon, all. I, the chairman and vice chancellor, Ashusa University of Education, I would like to stand on all protocols that have already been established. I count this an honor to be doing this for the celebrants. I remember when I was the vice chancellor, I think on several occasions he had asked me to do a similar thing at different events. This is an honor I will never forget, sir. Thank you so much. Professor Ndowa Ekwate Sunday Lale, a life of scholarship and service. This first shrift is dedicated to Professor Ndowa Ekwate Sunday Lale, a distinguished Nigerian academic, entomologist, and university administrator, whose career exemplifies scholarly rigor, pioneering spirit, and resolute leadership. Professor Lale's contributions span agricultural research, academic governance, and institutional development, particularly at the University of Port Harcourt, where he served with distinction as the pioneer dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, and later as the 8th substantive vice chancellor. His pursuit of higher education began at the University of Maiduguri, where he studied crop science and graduated in 1981 with a first-class honors degree in BSc Agriculture. This exceptional performance immediately set him on a path of specialized research. He proceeded to the United Kingdom, where he earned his Doctor of Philosophy, PhD degree in agricultural entomology from the prestigious University of Newcastle upon Tyne in 1987. His specialization lies in the critical area of agricultural and stored product entomology. Professor Lale's research career, spanning several decades, has focused on addressing the devastating impact of pests on stored agricultural products, a vital field for food security in the tropics. His work has appeared in numerous high-impact national and international peer-reviewed journals, positioning him as a world-class scholar in his field. His academic commitment was crystallized in his inaugural lecture, the 68th in the University of Port Harcourt series, delivered on February 25, 2010, titled Stealthy Thieves in Homes and Food Stores. In this seminar lecture, he provided authoritative insights into the biological mechanisms and economic losses caused by arthropod pests, establishing a framework for effective post-harvest management strategies in Nigeria and the wider African continent. Beyond his scholarly outputs, he also served the broader academic community as the editor-in-chief of the Nigerian Journal of Entomology from 2011 to 2012. Before his rise to the highest administrative office, Professor Lale demonstrated his immense capacity for institution building. He is recognized as the pioneer dean of the Faculty of Agriculture at the University of Port Harcourt, a role he undertook from 2005 to 2011, taking on the faculty literally with bare hands. Professor Lale was mandated to establish the necessary infrastructure, curriculum, and staffing. Through his strategic vision and administrative diligence, he successfully laid a solid academic and administrative footing for the nascent faculty, culminating in the accreditation of all its programs
a profound and lasting legacy that affirmed the quality and rigor of the institution he created. In July 2015, Professor Lale was appointed the 8th substantive Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt for a 5-year tenure. His leadership was marked by a commitment to restoring academic culture, promoting discipline, and executing high-impact developmental projects under his vision, which he encapsulated in his inaugural address, a wholesome and prosperous University of Port Harcourt. I'd like to welcome us to a beautiful and a wonderful book, Building a Sustainable Foundation for 21st Century Agricultural Advancement. Thank you much.
Thank you. That's the second first speech in honor of Professor Lale, the first one of a mosaic of contributions by 3 authors spanning across 16 chapters. This one is on the agricultural sector. And Professor Desope, thank you very much for that job. Well, the next on our list is to invite, I'm sure you want to hear from Professor Lale. Those of us who heard from him 48 hours ago, some people had constipation, some people had headache. But as you will read in one of the books, writers don't make people happy. Writers give people headache. If you don't give people headache, you are not actually a writer. You can ask my brother C.H.H. when he appears on Today FM. Some people drink ice water. Before I invite the celebrant, let us conclude the first range. You know, money matters are very important. Professor Tobira, I don't know how you found yourself here. Now come here and make a statement about the book. Now you're on the high table. And please don't speak for too long. Professors are not supposed to speak for too long. Just tell us about money. You see the way you're walking like a billionaire? Let us speak like a billionaire. 1 minute.
Please, the chairman, our fathers, Professor Lale, other protocols duly observed.
Thank you.
Like he said, I don't know how I got, but I do know that he beckoned on me to come. He sat somewhere there. He also beckoned on me to come to the high table.
Give us money and sit down.
Well, I will get back. What I need here is the account number for this very one.
This is the account number, sir.
This was the one for the former book.
No. Just go.
Oops.
It's for this one.
Thank you. I've already copied it.
You have already copied it.
I'll get back.
All right. Sorry. Well, for the information of everyone here, the initial account posted was wrong. We gave you 299. This is the correct one now, which is 2088277987. This is correct. The other information are all right. And it's Lucy Bomaudwene Zenit Bank. And for those who notice that we say lunch, it's not yet lunchtime. We are doing a lounge now. After the lounge, we will go to the lunch time.
Anybody who is touched on the high table, can you come please make lunch? Anybody touched here? No.
Attending, University librarian, registrar.
Please send the microphone to Majesties.
To the Majesties.
Yes, please.
I'm a man under authority. I've been asked to go to His Majesty. Yes.
Well, all protocol as already established is honored and respected. For this wonderful book that has just been presented to us, as chiefs, we know what to do. We cannot make public declaration, but the account number as put on the screen is noted, and we will see to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Kindly extend much for His Majesty, another of His Majesties.
Again, let me hide on that the already firmly established protocol. I want to seize this opportunity to wish my dear friend a lot of congratulations for retiring peacefully and for attaining the wonderful age of 70. Apart from a few people here, I think I may be one of the people that have known him longest. I've known him very closely for 55 years. And that's a long time. I follow his progress. He calls me from time to time. I call him from time to time. I'm glad to see that he has finished very, very well. As for the launching, I've already made my own known to him. So I don't need to say much more.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Yes, please. Chief Dr.
Your Majesty.
Let me start on the existing protocol because of time. This invitation of this program was made known to me for over a year ago, where the professor came down and told me that I need to be here. And it's our own song. You can see us in numbers and with Her Majesty as Eleme people to create one of our own. He has become a symbol of pride to us. And then that's why, as per yesterday, for the donation, both of us have communicated before the event.
Thank you, sir. King Professor Walter Olo.
All protocols observed, with particular reference to my majesties from Eleme and others. I will say that I'm Lale's senior brother. I hope I will not be overstating that. Because if you look there, when he joined Uniport 82, it was my office that he first called. I want to see his face so that I understand what I'm saying. He came and introduced himself, 1982, when you arrived Uniport, I didn't know. And we spoke Eleme. So the first time I was seeing that there was another lecturer from Eleme. That time I was already a lecturer one. So I want to say that I'm very happy that he stayed in Uniport and get to the apex. And if you will recall, when we received you as Vice Chancellor at the Eleme Center, near the dispensary, I mentioned that Prof Ndowa Ekoate is Ekoate, not Ekaete. Ekoate. Ekoate means his father's friend. I'm also a Yina. Ekoate. Then Sunday, Lale. I mentioned that Prof Ndowa Ekoate Sunday, Lale. It's a meteor. You know what the meteor is?
Absolutely.
You will know from where the meteor is coming, and you will know where he is heading. So I still say that Professor Lale is a meteor, and I'm glad to be associated with him. Indeed, his wife is also the sister of a bosom friend of mine, the late Professor Wakabadi. So without taking so much time, I will take 2 copies each. I saw there was a second one, although we didn't. So if you can give me 2 copies each, which will be 4 copies of the 2, and I will communicate to him, directly to the secretary.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Professor Ogali, please. She doesn't really have to donate money. She has donated so much ideas.
All protocol observed. I'm happy to be here today. Like I've told a friend, knowing what had happened in Uniport all these years, that he is leaving Uniport, walking out, not being carried out. And that's what we thank God for. So I've already communicated with Lucy through the bank account. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you return the microphone to the His Majesty.
Lale has a word for us, please.
Thank you. The chairman of this great occasion, the VC of Ignatius Archery University. I happen to be a former student of this place when it was College of Education. When I entered there today and saw what is happening here, I was shocked, but let all glory and honor be given to God Almighty. Every other protocol duly observed. The man sitting by you, Professor Lale, is my schoolmate. He was my schoolmate. And today, we are here gathered to celebrate him. My colleague said he knew him 55 years ago, but we knew him right from birth. He said he was apart from himself, he doesn't know whether any other person that he associated with for 5 years. That are those of us who he right from birth. Just like some other persons have said, he is a principled person. You entrust anything upon his shoulders, go and sleep. You will not have any fear. That being said, I just want to use this occasion to thank everybody that is here that contributed to the success of this man on behalf of a layman people. The man from Lagos, the man from Badam, and even the professor of this school, and even Pope. Sorry that I call you Pope. When they stood up on this altar, they said one or two things about him, and that contributed to his success. So I just want to use this opportunity on behalf of the entire people of Eleme to thank all of you for contributing to his success. It couldn't have been possible. It couldn't have been possible without your assistance, without your help. On that note, let me just drop a little quote. When kindness is administered in times of needs, they are like apples of gold in pictures of silver. They make people appreciate all that we have done to our man. We are celebrating him today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Your Majesty.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Majesty, the King.
Is there any other person who may wish to launch? Oh, Professor Biamakromo, please can you come?
Acting Dean, Faculty of Agriculture, Professor A.B. Amakoro.
Same occasion, permit me to stand on existing protocols. We are very happy, the Faculty of Agriculture, to be here today celebrating with our pioneer dean. He started the faculty, and you know what it means to start something. So we're always grateful to him for leadership, for mentorship, for all the things that he has done to us as a faculty. We're happy to see these books. We know a lot has been put into it, and we are going to contribute to this. I have taken note of the account details and will pass something on to our professor. Thank you.
So please, Ori is in the house.
May I please appeal to the people at the call to please control the acoustics, please. Where's the lady?
Pastor Dr. Mrs. Comfort Guru wants to.
All right, please, we wish to announce that the publisher's price is 10,000 naira. That's the publisher's price for the first book. Please, if you nobody will launch below 10,000, and we hope you can make it far better than that publisher's price.
All right.
Are you
Pastor Dr. Mrs. Comfort Guru is here to say.
I have come to know the Prof for more than 43 years because I've been married to his friend for more than 43 years. And he has been a close family friend. And is somebody I have been admiring from afar. He's an orator. I admire him. And I'm glad that the Lord has sustained him and seen him through the end of his service in the university. And I want to say that though my husband is not here, I got to know about this retirement ceremony through the forum of LMA PhD group. And some of them are here, but I am launching on behalf of my husband, and I have the accounts and the bank. So I'll get back to you.
Please, very briefly.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Please, can you go straight to the point, sir? We are pressed for time. Go ahead.
Okay, my name's Dr. Benson Dadigi, and my dear friend, Dr. Isaac Atta. We are junior colleagues to the celebrant of today. We met in 1977 at the University of Maiduguri. We are happy to be here in his honor. We congratulate you, my VC. We congratulate you also on your birthday.
Thank you.
For the book launch, we launched these books with the sum of 100,000 naira.
100,000 naira. Thank you very much.
100,000 naira.
Professor Collins Wilson, Director of the Center for Transport and Logistics, University of Port Harcourt. He has given us 100,000 naira. Professor Faith Aminikbo.
Our Savior's Chapel, University of Port Harcourt, is going to speak through the chaplain and Professor Faith Aminikbo, the welfare secretary.
I will not take our time. The chaplain is here. On behalf of the Savior's Chapel, we would like to have 2 copies of the book, 3 copies of the book, and must I declare the amounts? Some substantive is coming to us. Thank you.
Okay, the donation is covered by EFCC. So, Venerable, thank you very much.
All
Minimum cost price, publisher's price.
Have a personal, sorry, sir.
Minimum cost price, publisher's price, 10,000 naira. You can now come and pick a copy. Professor, come now. You want to come.
You come. Professor Ken Aminigo's personal lunch.
Straight to the point.
I want to thank the celebrants. We are particularly happy for the ethical reforms he brought in the University of Port Harcourt. And we are also happy that he believes that the only thing that can deepen scholarship is academic rigor. Sir, we thank you. Anyone who has done well, his family will always want to identify with him. Yes, I will. On behalf of his brothers and sisters from the Goni ethnic extraction, they have asked me to present a parcel to him. Thank you, sir.
The parcel is moving.
It's for the first book. It's for the first book, and then we have passed.
I've been looking for you since. Senior contractor, businessman, extraordinary. Now bring down the roof.
Engineer Annie Beze, you are here.
I'm sorry, I'm coming a little bit late. I stand on that existing protocol. But I'm not a man of too many words. I just want to say thank you. In a very special way, you've touched my life and my family. I just came in from Lagos now. And I told myself I must be here physically to say thank you. On behalf of myself and my family, make a launching of 500.
500,000.
All right.
For the first book.
There was an earlier 500,000. Not just that he organized this event here in his university. Professor Onechukwu, Vice Chancellor, Ignatius University, had earlier transferred 500,000 naira to our account. Please, let's
thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. We are grateful.
Who else is coming?
Who else is coming?
Professor Aikabagwa approached me.
Professor Aikabagwa is a homeboy. Thank you very much.
Don't let me start calling you one by one. People should come and support. Here is Professor Dean, Faculty of Agriculture of our latest edition, Federal University of Environment and Technology. Professor, come now. Come and donate money. Don't greet first.
Thank you, Chairman of the occasion. Thank you, celebrant. And I greatly appreciate the pioneer and its Vice Chancellor, and for breeding another pioneer dean. Thank you. You gave us. Thank you for all that you've led us through to this point. I greatly appreciate you. Thank you, Prof. I want to pick 2 copies, one for myself, 2 copies of each volume, one for myself and one for the Faculty of Agriculture Library at the Federal University of Environment and Technology, Kuruma, Sakpewa, Ogoni.
Thank you, Pioneer Team.
You haven't said how much. I want to hear.
We see it in your
covered by ELCC. Give Madam microphone, very brief. Please give her a copy of the book.
OJ Amadi, Madam is here to say what?
Madam, very briefly. We are pressed for time, very seriously.
Okay, just give me one.
What? Please give her a copy of the book.
Just one for 50,000.
50,000 naira, Madam, thank you. Dean, School of Graduate Studies, Postgraduate School, Ignatius University, our own Professor Chibuzo Nwabeze. Prof, come now. We know you are a big man. We know you, Prof, come. Okay. Is there any other person who is touched? May I now invite anybody else? Please come here, pick a copy, and don't pay less than 10,000 naira. All right, Professor Lale, sir, it's your turn now to speak. His Majesty is leaving. We are very grateful to you, Your Majesty. Majesty de Namue. Maker.
The Amayana of Abonima. We see Professor UJ Wogo is here. Professor Nat Abraham is here. Welcome.
Yeah, Professor Levinus Obonda is also here.
Professor Levinus Obonda.
If you are touched, come and pick a copy. Give us money. So we can
Uche Fidelis, Uniport Pension Consultant, 50,000 naira.
Thank you. Get a copy of the book. Chief Vitalis Aliezi, a former bossa. Please give him a copy of the book.
Professor.
Please just approach the person and get a copy. Professor Ugu.
Professor
Ugu himself. You're welcome. Please get a copy.
Okay.
No, Professor Lale is here already. No more statements. Please just pick a book. Thank you.
Okay.
Prof, you want to say something? You hardly say anything. Please, the celebrants are already here, so Nobody says anything again. Just go and pick up the book. Pick up the book. Thank you. Yeah, Chief Doctor Obianko, Paul Elechi. Chief Obi. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Thank you, sir. All right, from the Ogoni group, Professor Isaac has redeemed their pledge. Professor Chikwegu, you are the one the professor was referring to. Who want to? Please, just pick a copy and decongest the place very fast, please.
That can go on. Well, you know, the chair, very distinguished members of the head table, and very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I have done a book before. The most terrible thing to invite people to is book launch. Somebody once said, Nigerians don't like book launch. Incidentally, today's my birthday, some had to come. And to so that we can stretch, I'm going to do some testimony, and so to ginger us to hear that testimony. I want us to exercise ourselves a bit, if you don't mind, except for the traditional rulers and our reverend and so on. But if the rest of us and those who are a bit aged, my colleagues who came to honor me from the West, I'm younger than them. That is why they're calling me a bon, so they too can stand. But when I do this, give me that old time religion. Give me that old time. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. Give me that old time religion. Give me that. Oh, give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. It was good for mama and daddy. It was good for mama and daddy. It was good for mama and daddy. And it's good enough for me. Give me that old time. Give me that old time. Oh, give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. It is good, babies, children. It is good, babies, children. It is good for babies and children. And it's good enough for me. Give me that old time. Old time. Give me that old time religion is good enough for me. Wonderful guys. Thank you very much. What a great audience to talk to. You know, I will apologize to my chaplain that I'm not giving this testimony in our church. I decided that many more people who don't attend that church will hear this testimony. And my testimony is just my testimony. Living by conviction and grace. Living by conviction and grace. Don't worry about what's going on there. I want you to listen to me, concentrate. You know, in our universities today, the way things are happening here is the way most lectures go on. You have about 200 inside the hall, then you have another 300 or more hanging by the windows, and the lectures are going on anyway. So please, don't worry about what's happening there. I want you to please concentrate on what I'm doing. Because mine is not a lecture like Fabu Holmes, and mine is not a book review like Idowu's. Mine is a testimony, and I'm going to be fairly verbatim about it. I'm a fast talker, and we are likely to get through fast. In the 2025 edition of our Daily Bread, an online daily devotional for spiritual improvement and growth, the article, No Regrets, by John Blaze, had an inspiring story on living life by conviction. It was extracted from the work of a palliative nurse, Bronnie Wire, who discovered an amazing truth as she sat and chatted with the dying. She intentionally questioned them. Would you do anything differently if you could do it again? Common themes surfaced, and she compiled a list of the top 5 responses of the dying. The response that topped this list of 5 turned out to be the most mournful and pitiful. And what was it? I wish I had had the courage to live a life true to myself. In other words, I wish I had lived life by the convictions I always had. This response echoes a life of regret, realizing that they abandoned their conviction and instead embraced living to impress or to please others, to belong or to be like the Joneses. What a tragic discovery at a time when the respondents had no further opportunities to relive their lives. While it is frightening to contemplate the enormous cost of living by conviction, it's even more so in our time, social isolation, negative branding, denied opportunities, especially in our today's societies where debased morals, disappearing values, a maddening penchant for acquiring fame and wealth, and the inordinate desire to be celebrated have taken center stage in the affairs of men. I chose to live by conviction and to depend on the grace that only the Almighty God imbues his children with, as I coasted through the better part of my life. This is the same way I will live the balance of my life with every breath that I take. I have an abiding confidence, not in my own limited abilities, but weather the challenges and obstacles that this philosophy for living in our current world places in the path of anyone who chooses to live this way. But in the surpassing grace that God, without an iota of variableness, grants to all those who put their faith in him. This is for this unwavering confidence is well captured in 2 Corinthians chapter 3. And I'm from the very first edition of the Holy Bible New Living Translation, published in 1996. We are confident of all this because of our trust in God through Christ. It is not that we think we can do anything of lasting value by ourselves. Our only power and success come from God. Living by conviction has never been, should never be, and can never be a decision to be made flippantly. There is a price to pay, but it is a good price for those who desire to see real positive change in our societies, where globally acceptable values are tumbling down. It is a deliberate choice. It is not the outcome of happenstance. It is undergirded by the moral compass that guides the lifestyle of an individual. While it is true that the standard of morality espoused by an individual could be a personal choice without any religious underpinning, in most cases, abiding and consistent application of ethical considerations in decision-making is inseparably linked to one's belief in a supreme being that judges our inner thoughts and actions. While it is also true that there is a multiplicity of beliefs and interpretations of who this supreme being is, and ability to give justice to men based on their actions, I believe passionately in God Almighty, who is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, and who also grants grace to mere mortals. He knows the end from the beginning. It is the anchorage of my conviction on his extravagant grace that has kept me not only alive and well, but has also granted me the opportunities I've had in life and brought me to my present station in life. Are you hearing me? Are you all hearing me? In the beginning, having born to Chief Philip Lale IV and Mrs. Evelyn Lale IV, both resource poor farmers and of blessed memory, they could not fund my secondary education. They, however, sufficiently educated me in the acquisition of the virtues of integrity, character, hard work, and contentment, value which my wife and I have also transmitted to our own children. Like their parents, They won't need to steal, to kill, and to destroy, or to assassinate people's character in order to succeed and live happily on this earth. Well, two of them are here today, two are not here. My post-primary education was facilitated by Mr. Ebenezer J. Sakawi and Mr. Isaac N. Chindo, two maternal uncles of mine. This gesture opened the doorway to a series of lifelines that radically changed for the better, the green future that awaited me. As I eventually found out, it fitted snugly into the destiny God designed for me even before I was formed in my mother's womb, from where I was discharged alive on January 31st, 1956. I struggled a lot to meet up the obligations of my studentship. In Form 2, as the second year in secondary school was known in 1973, again, grace shone on me as the River State government offered me scholarship that exempted my uncles from the burden of further payment of tuition fees, the only component that the scholarship covered. Not everyone received the government scholarship, as students were required to attain a certain level of academic performance to qualify for the award. I remain eternally grateful to the government because merit defined good governance at that time, so that the sons of the rich, as well as those of the poor, received the award in keeping with their performance. Although, sure my friends would like to hear this, although I did some of the things people of my age did in those days, I always remember that I owed myself, my parents, my self-sacrificing maternal uncles, the government of Rivers State, and God, a duty to reciprocate the privilege grace extended to me. I passed the West African School Certificates Division 1 in 1976. Determined not to make a shipwreck of this opportunity, I caught my eyes, rather unwittingly, with the crude approach I adopted to stay awake during prayer times. And this may have contributed in no small measure to the eye problem that still plagued me to this day. I warded off sleep each time it came with a generous application of Hakojin, some form of hot balm whose present-day equivalent is Aboniki. The other and more frightening contributory factor will be narrated a little later. While in Form 5, but before the final examination, I sat for the entrance examination into Federal Government College Harcourt to pursue higher education, a higher school education, along with 19 others from Ascension High School or Lale. Two of us passed and were subsequently admitted for the two-year program that culminated in my securing the 3 advanced level versus 1978 that I needed to enroll in a university through the direct entry route. That is where the Amayanabo of Abonema and I met. I thought he would be here to hear this. I'm sure when you saw him today, if I told you that he used to be a DJ, you won't believe that. And I would have said it if we were here. I told him in his palace, and I told, when they were coronating him, I told the people who were there that they won't believe that, as we called him in those days, Dizzy. Dizzy was a DJ. But today, it's very difficult for me to see him. I need to book an appointment and all of that. During the high school years, with no scholarship, the first named uncle took responsibility. The eye problem, which began soon after I left Sunday school, became so severe that I almost abandoned my education at this stage. I used a pair of medicated glasses with a different strength in my lower 6 and a stronger pair in my upper 6. But I struggled through those years and completed the program, even as I missed several classes, visiting one eye clinic or another. The problem was a factor that influenced my decision as to where to pursue my university education. With information that the city of Kano had probably the best eye hospital at that time, I opted for University of Maiduguri. My university years turned out to be one of the first periods in my educational history. The other one being the postgraduate years, University of Newcastle upon Tyne. At that time, I was already there with my wife. Although the state government again awarded me a scholarship for undergraduate studies, I spent my entire first year without the boss coming through. And this was at the time when, besides the initial money he provided, the fortunes of my uncle had dwindled drastically. How I survived that year and still managed to pass my examinations in good grades is akin to the situation captured fit in an element age. What one sees where a woman is giving birth is not for public discourse. During the mandatory National Youth Service Corps year, which I spent at the Advanced Teachers College at Kenworth, Katsina Ala in Benue State, University of Maiduguri offered me an automatic employment as a graduate assistant, while University of Port Harcourt offered me the position of an assistant lecturer, following my success at a rigorous interview. But I accepted the latter offer for obvious reasons, assumed it on 15 July 1982. Although I had wanted to use a university as a platform for training for the doctoral program and to eventually leave the system for more prestigious opportunities. After qualifying, God had a different plan, and he sent me in to pursue a career in the army that lasted over 4 decades. For my postgraduate education, I secured the federal government scholarship with the monetary benefit denominated in Naira to study for the Doctor of Philosophy degree in agricultural biology, specifically entomology. Because the award was in Naira, what I received as its equivalent in pound sterling continued to dwindle with advancing years as the Nigerian economy and the value of the local currency began to go through a turbulence. Nosedive gradually at the onset and has almost hit rock bottom today. With the wife of mine and 2 children to look after at that time, we went through the turbulence successfully, mainly because God provided ways and means that enabled us to cope. There were times when things were so bad, my wife and I wept, but I managed to obtain a golden fleece for which we paid all the price. Most of the Nigerian colleagues we knew had the Commonwealth Scholarship, kept them in good nick. Upon completion of my studies, I gave all the counsel to defect and remain in England, as many staff and staff development did. We returned to Nigeria in 1988 in fulfillment of the bond signed with US. Arrival, we experienced very austere living conditions in Nigeria, and they have continued to be so ever since. But we have had no regrets for returning to our motherland at that time. Eventually turned out to be our fatherland. Eventually we're back to our motherland. Because there was no faculty of agriculture at the time, my employment at the University was at the Faculty of Science, where I taught entomology and other courses in the Department of Zoology, as it then was. For this reason, a deep-seated feeling of lack of professional fulfillment welled up within me. And with a doctoral degree in agriculture with specialization in crop science, I sent in an application to the Rivers State University of Science and Technology, as it then was, early in 1992 for employment in the Department of Crop Science. Strangely, for sentiment that I cannot discuss here, my application for engagement into this department was turned down, and I was advised by the Dean of Faculty to apply for the position in the Department of Botany of the same university, while another gentleman with a degree in botany was being recruited into the Department of Crop Science. Angered by these bizarre boardroom politics, and with an audible direction from God, in September of that year, I transferred my service to the Department of Crop Science of my alma mater, where I served for 11 years, and then returned to the University of Port Harcourt for my second missionary journey in 2003. I worked briefly in the former Department of Zoology, now called Animal and Environmental Biology, and in August 2005, I was entrusted with the responsibility to found the Faculty of Agriculture, where I'm retiring from today. Overseeing the fledgling faculty had its ups and downs, but with the cooperation of the heads of departments and the other staff, we built a solid foundation, and today it stands on an equal pedestal with the much older faculties of the institution. I'm going to now fast forward you to my vice chancellorship contest and all that follow. Having given this new faculty great visibility, when the opportunity came in 2015 for the position of vice chancellor of VC, I put myself forward, and with the greatest sense of modesty and gratitude to God, I became a front runner and a candidate to beat in the race. I mean, my colleagues are here, they will testify to that. I'm not exaggerating by any means. Whereas the university, I mean, just to give you an example of that, when ASU conducted what they call referendum, of the 400 votes, validly cast votes that came, I scored more than nearly 250, I think I remember. So I was the person to be. Whereas the university community got into the plan of administration as swore to implement in order to grow the fortune institution based on the massive buy-in of my campaign manifesto. A wholesome and prosperous University of Port Harcourt is possible again. It became apparent that the principalities and spring doctors of the time did not want a person with an avowed integrity and character to superintend over the institution. And so I found myself in turbulent, murky waters right from the start. I was fought with all ascendos from the point of bidding for the job to getting appointed as the 8th vice chancellor, and until leaving office in 2020, having begun my tenure in 2015. In what had been dubbed the April 11 Arab Spring, students were incited, goaded, and supported with the necessary resources to prosecute a violent protest that took place on 11 April 2016, which caused massive destruction of university property. This protest was hinged on the VC's resolve that students pay the fees and charges that amounted to 45,000 naira per session, as approved by Senate. Long I took over mantle of leadership of the institution. You know, for those who live in Port Harcourt, just when I get introduced in some gatherings, I mention my name. They actually get shocked because they actually, with the campaign they had, Professor Lale had horns on his head. And actually, I was working with Satan, and I was his agent on earth. You know, but when you see me, the big person for a start, I didn't have horns, and they were just wondering, because the kinds of things they did and people, you know, was something else. You know, so with this development, which comprised those who were seeking power, and their sons who were de facto investors, and who indeed eventually reaped bumper harvests as their return on investment, wanted the federal government to summarily remove me from office. It never happened. The council subsequently suspended me from office for 6 months on 6 June 2016 on bogus and ridiculous allegations. Pursuant to this, students were sponsored to institute court cases against the management for losing their studentship on account of their recalcitrance to pay their approved fees and charges. 2 sets of them sued in 2 different courts. In one of the courts, I've quoted the court reference numbers. The judge opined that university had no right to subject them to temporary withdrawal of their studentship under the circumstance. And management, had no right to subject them to temporary withdrawal of their studentship under the circumstance. And management appealed against the judgment. In the second case, the judge asked 3 fundamental questions that form the basis of the judgment. Number 1, did the University of Port Harcourt Act state that the institution can charge fees and other charges? 2, did the appropriate organ or the institution recognized under that act set the fees and charges that were being demanded from the students? Is CAJ still here? Is Tony Anuruhum here? Yeah, well, the reason I wanted a lawyer, a very powerful lawyer, to confirm the logic the logic of the judge. The last question was, did the students who lost their studentship fail to pay the fees and charges demanded from them by the authorities of the institution? The answers to all three questions by the counsels to both the claimants and the defendants were all in the affirmative. The judge ruled that the students had no case and their suit failed. Following my petition to the visitor that I was innocent of the two-count charge with impeccable proofs, the council was dissolved on 30th June 2016, and I was raised on July 2016, exactly 24 days following my suspension. This is precisely the security guarantee to those who leave their fight in God's hands. Mercy and truth we kiss. This is unambiguously declared in Psalm 85, verse 10. Unfailing love and truth have met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed. This metaphorical description from Psalm 85, verse 10 portrays a union between God's mercy and truth, justice and peace. It suggests that these seemingly contrasting qualities are reconciled and joined together in a divine way. The next council was also corrupted by the same people, and they continue from where they left off. That council, chaired by someone who had been sacked from the councils of two previous universities as chancellor and chairman, was also consequently dissolved. Did the agencies that facilitated his appointment to a third university not know or remember that this man was not suitable for the position of pro-chancellor and chairman of council of a university, given his consistent abysmal record? Or could it be that the same powerful members of the army arranged for his appointment as part of their strategies to oust me? We may not have appropriate answers to these questions, but what we know for certain is that the very people who incited students against my administration for insisting students pay 45,000 naira per session are collecting humongous amounts of fees and charges from undergraduate and graduate students for all programs without even a whimper. It simply shows that they did all this out of envy, rivalry, and an inordinate quest for power. While they may not publicly acknowledge this, my contribution, I'm glad I was able to significantly strengthen this source of internally generated revenue for the institution. Paul, one of the most influential apostles of his time, who also suffered a similar fate from those he thought were colleagues, recorded his experience in Philippians chapter 1, 15 and 18, and permit me to quote that, for others to learn from and be encouraged in their struggle to impact humanity the right way up, the right side. And permit me to quote that, some are preaching out of jealousy and rivalry. Others preach about motives, but whether or not their motives are pure, the fact remains that the message about Christ is being preached, so I rejoice. We wanted to empower the universities to have revenue to run the university. Well, I would agree on this. It doesn't matter what they thought. It is pertinent. It is pertinent at this point to inform that the shenanigans at the University of Port Harcourt was not my first experience as a victim of the crude struggle for power in Nigeria. I always thought that the scary crudity we see and hear about in partisan politics has no place in academia, and that it will never get to the ivory tower. How wrong I was. My first encounter with this unsavory underbelly was in 2012 when I contested for the same position in Rivers State University of Science and Technology. I gave an excellent account of myself at the interview, so much so that members of the panel, for a moment, forgot that the occasion was an interview for the position of VC. They gave a loud ovation as I took a bow to leave. I was first on the list of 5 in the order of performance. A gentleman that attended the interview from the US was second. Another gentleman, a staff of the institution, was third. And still, another, now late, was fourth on the list. None of these 4 contestants was appointed. And to make sure that the hatchet job was clinically carried out, the visitor dissolved the council. And when it was reconstituted for a visit to be announced, only 2 members who midwifed the dissolution of the previous one made the list. Thereafter, miscreants, mischief makers and jobbers, some of them professors, were hired and sponsored to television stations around the country to help face eyes, to justify the impunity, and to defend the innocent. Some wrote newspaper articles to the same effect. Following these abuses and complete denigration of the University Act, the institution knew no peace for years, as labor unions down tools and mayhem was let loose. And the epoch in its history, the institution will rather not remember. The rest, as I say, is history. My emergence as VC at the University of Port Harcourt 3 years later is a clear testament to the fact that when God commences the fulfillment of a man's destiny, no position can stall it. In fact, I just want to share a quote at this stage. I have a quote that I have a book. It says, when God is involved in a matter, it does not matter who is not. Does it? In the face of all the hostilities, and with the dogged determination, support, and cooperation of the great men and women I appointed, many of them are here, I appointed to take charge of the various departments and units of administration through the collegial system I established in the institution during my 5-year tenure at this university. Witnessed tremendous growth in infrastructure, academic culture, renaissance, accountability, eradication of cult activities, environmental statistics, staff and student reorientation for greater value addition, policy revival and consolidation, purpose-driven disciplinary measures, staff and student welfare, as well as security of lives and properties. The staff so appointed were given free hand to oversee the affairs of the departments and units under their watch, without the VC attempting to micromanage them. They only reported to the VC as a matter of due process. Students graduated as at when due. And undergraduate students proceeded on NYNC in due time, as Senate under my watch was highly democratized and vibrant, in contrast to the situation today, where students graduate and hang around for 2 or more years before degree results are processed and approved, more often executively by the VC. Executive approval of results, especially degree, prevents the necessary scrutiny for the detection of possible genuine errors and sometimes willful inclusion of spurious results, a process that quality assures the degrees the institution awards. Lectures began and were concluded as indicated on the calendar of each semester. You know, for those of us who are in Uniport, they will agree that this current semester began on the 17th of November. Students were never seen until they came back from Christmas break on 12th January. I'm sure you know that. Am I lying? And so all the other weeks gone by. So what's the meaning of that? How does training occur that way? All right? Haven't declared zero tolerance for cult activities and examination malpractice. A congenial academic ambience permeated the campus, and students and lecturers, except for the non-academic ones, and we do have some non-academic students, were happy and truly enjoyed academic freedom. Lecturers took their lectures more seriously as a quality assurance and civic unit under the leadership of the very focused, competent, and fearless gentleman. Gentleman is here. Took attendance of both lecturers and students in lecture halls, as nobody wanted to be Lale. There was just recompense for those who violated punctual attendance at lectures. Students who failed to meet the mandatory 75% attendance of lectures in any course were refused sitting in for examination for that particular course, in line with global best practice. And as contained in the students' handbook, all this brought sanity and academic activity boomed. Ironically, 2 of the few lecturers who not only resisted, but equally campaigned vigorously against the policy of students anonymously evaluating how regular lecturers attended their lectures and the quality of lecturing or teaching they provided, ended up leading the institution at different levels. One in the central administration, the other in charge of quality assurance. After the conclusion of my tenure, has this critical organ of the university now become merely perfunctory? Only time will tell. The campus was literally turned into a construction site as different fit-for-purpose buildings and other infrastructure were springing up in all corners of the three campuses. Although most of these were academic facilities to accommodate the burgeoning student population, at least three, the 32 units, residential buildings, 16 of them were for 3-bedroom and 16 were for 2-bedroom, and then public toilets and a world-class walkway, currently abandoned in an embarrassing state of disrepair, were funded fully with IGRO under my superintendent. The first approval I saw from council was to construct 6 blocks of multi-room public toilets, 3 in University Park, Abuja Park, if you like, 2 in Choba Park, and 1 in Delta Park. Part of the request was for me to contract out the cleaning to third-party janitorial service contractors for sustained maintenance of the facility. They were eventually built in locations where toilets should be. You know, in the days when we were growing up, toilets, these latrines were put in plantations. So when you're there, nobody will see you. So the couple will put them in such places where they can be hidden, where toilets should be built. The compelling immediacy for the construction of public toilets, besides being a necessary facility in a 21st century university, was the obscene practice on campus of people, especially visitors who did not have access to toilets in staff offices. I'm going to win and pull in the open. It was particularly an eyesore to see women pull up their wrappers and squat on the road to answer the call of nature in a university. The toilets were run so professionally and they were always immaculately clean. Someone who has having a snack, a bite of a snack while using the facility. I used it too. They ran smoothly until my tenure ended on 13 July 2020 when I left office. Unfortunately, the institution is back to the pre-Lale days when staff, students, and especially visitors urinated and defecated in the open as those facilities have been converted to residential quarters in isolated locations in academic areas. With this development, the eyesore has now assumed the status of auditives as the occupants of those quarters hang out their clothes, including men's briefs and ladies' undies, to dry in the open in academic areas, thus making the institution look more like waterside ghettos. The precise reasons for this remain in the realm of speculation. For 3 principal reasons: number 1, to secure the Choba Park in the face of threats from host communities to reacquire the land. Number 2, to enhance the IGRO base of the university. Number 3, to spare staff and students the stress of going all the way to Port Harcourt City to shop for basic necessities. The university entered into public-private partnership that led to the building of 2 shop malls, everyday supermarket and market. The approval for the construction of especially everyday supermarket became another hotspot for fighters. They embarked on all sorts of action, including writing several frivolous petitions and polluting the minds of external members of the Second Council I worked with, if only to frustrate the project and to implicate the Vice Chancellor. For instance, without being privy to the due process the management had followed by seeking approval from the Infrastructural Concessional Regulatory Commission, ICRC, they alleged that the VC, without approval, traded away a large chunk of university land, and the institution was, the insinuation was that it was for personal gain. In the midst of the heart-wrenching stress, and with the project ready for commission, the management received the long-awaited approval from ICRC, thanks to the late engineer Chide Zua, the CEO of ICRC at that time. This mall, probably one of the best in any Nigerian university, was eventually commissioned, and it is meeting the goal which it was established. Part of the terms of the agreement with the everyday group was for 100 of the 160 shops that form part of the facility to be given to the university in part redemption of its equity. Management was still considering how to profitably operate the 100 shops when I left office. Those that came after us shared the shops among themselves, their families, friends, and cronies, and paid paltry sums as rent for only the first year. After that, it's free, it's just free. And they're collecting rent for themselves, not for the university. Because they sublet the shops. So the businessmen and women who occupy those shops currently are the prevailing market price. By the way, the people who constructed the shop for which they almost killed us, we are all here, we are alive. If they didn't like Professor Lale, what of Professor Gali? What of Incotaria? What all those of us who were involved? They did not give one. Even though it was illegal and a corrupt practice. And some of their families got 3, some got 4. I'm not joking. I have the list. They shared the amount. That is the kind of. So, I wish the university were benefiting in return from the sweat and sacrifice of those of us who staked our lives and stuck out our necks to ensure that this facility was finally constructed and commissioned for operation. Against all the hostility brought upon us by a group of megalomaniacs whose only interest and mission were to take over the reins of power. Isn't it quite shameless or even wicked on their part that the very characters that fought vehemently against its construction are the ones generating revenue for themselves and their families, not the university for which the mall was built? Why are we Nigerians like this? Does it bother you to ask such questions? Why are we Nigerians like this? The answer is not very far. The answer is in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9. And permit me again to quote from the scripture. The human heart is the most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked. And desperately wicked. In keeping with the solemn commitment I made to the university community as contained in my manifesto and inaugural address in 2015, and the promise I made to the effect that I will run the university by the book. That I will run the university by the book, that is, to conduct the business of the office in strict compliance with the laws clearly stated in the University Act, and according to the sundry policies approved by the Council and Senate, and known conventions that have become traditional to universities globally. Staff and students found guilty of various cases of gross misconduct were sacked or suspended while investigations were ongoing for staff. Students were expelled for crime-related matters, rusticated or temporarily withdrawn pending final determinations of their cases. Gross misconduct cases included but not limited to sexual harassment, extortion, referred to in Nigerian university as assaulting, a most unfortunate euphemism to use, plagiarism, alteration of grades and degree results, cheating in examinations, participation in poor activities, or being complicit in any of the listed malfeasance. For reasons that are best known to the succeeding administrations, most of these were recalled to continue in their good work. For the acting Vice Chancellor, having ascended to power through a process that is only akin to military takeover, his actions were fully directed at seeking validation and support of different stakeholders. Due to rampant cases of certificate forgery by staff in the employ of the university, the management set up a panel to investigate this class of crime. Only some of these cases, which are just a tip of the iceberg, will be cited here to give insight to the seriousness of these crimes in the institution. The first involves Deputy Registrar, who ought to have retired years earlier. In her effort to conceal her real age, she went to every unit of the institution where information that could assist dissemination of her real age could be found, and pulled out all the documents in her folders, leaving them completely bare. Conniving at this scandalous and despicable conduct, as part of the return on investment paid to her, management she worked arduously for its emergence rewarded her, using all kinds of subterfuge by appointing her to the position of acting registrar. A manifestly incompetent staff, he was summarily relieved of her position as council officer by one of the institution's councils for her gross incapacity to take comprehensible minutes in council meetings. The councils for her gross, the second case was stranger than fiction. This involved a lecturer who doubled as a priest in one of the mainline churches. I won't call the name. Some of the people who are related to that are here. I won't call the name of the mainline church. He has 3 younger brothers behind him. And without having regard to the fact that there could be sisters in between them, the youngest of the three retired meritoriously from public service in Rivers State in December 2013 at the age of 65. And so in 2023, he turned 75. It was in these 2023, when his youngest brother turned 75, that the elder brother, a priest and lecturer, retired from the University of Port Harcourt at the ripe age of 70, and bemoaned with the acting VC who rescued him and who attended the occasion. The unfair treatment of Lale meted out to him when he asked him to retire in 2020 on account of overstay. The third case was about a lecturer in engineering who almost became a professor without tendering to the university any evidence of the PhD he claimed he had at the point of his recruitment decades earlier. How he was recruited in the system without the university first ensuring, or university management ensuring that he made the basic requirement. It's one of the atrocities taking place in that tertiary institution, made possible by some managers who rely mostly on parochialism. What are they? Ethnicity, chronism, religious affinity, cult following, and similar primordial sentiments. Now what? Who is that? Okay, well, I can hear they want me to finish. Let me just go to something that I would like to talk about, because the people that I want to talk about are here, and I'm now going to that point. But I can talk about that. There are three persons here that I want to especially recognize. The first person is Mrs. Selina Nkotaria. She's seated here. At the point I was Vice Chancellor, host communities were threatening, trying to reappear lands that were under my control, and were handed over to me as Vice Chancellor. And I said, no. How do I allow them to reappear these lands? What will I tell the government? That I was given a certain perimeter of land. Now I'm living probably enough. So we decided, after all appeals failed, we took them to court. We won some of the cases and executed. We pulled down some of their buildings that on our land. And another group after that took us to court when we built the everyday facility. I think the idea was to see whether we can negotiate with them so that they can have a stake in every day. And I said no. They went to court, and we allowed them, we followed them to court. A very prominent person, if that person spoke to any other person apart from Mrs. Nkotaria, Mrs. Nkotaria, can you please stand up for a moment? Mrs. Nkotaria, can you just... Yeah, thank you. You can sit down. If that individual was a mega person, if he told any other person apart from her, the person will abort. The person approached her and said, why are you following Professor Lale like that? Why are you supporting him like that? Just abandon him. Allow him. Mrs. Nkotaria stuck to her guns because she was doing her legal work appropriately as it should be done. Not many people will have survived that, particularly knowing that maybe that, the person has so much influence, they could hurt her very badly. Mrs. Nkotaria, I'm grateful to you. God bless you. The other person, the chief Vitalis Alieze, he worked with me as bossa. And I'm grateful to God that all of them are alive. Can you please identify yourself? It is not a coincidence that both of us are wearing red hat today. You can see that, sir. And it's a chief. It's not just a chief. It's a chief that wears something on his wrist. He was bossa when I was suspended. The people who suspended me quoted some stupid things. They didn't, because they actually wanted me to give them tech fund contracts. I have proposed to them what they can do for their people to get it. They didn't do it. So I said I won't do it, that I will go to jail. Of course, the VCs I know that with the VCs being in charge of tender board, anything that went wrong, you went to jail straight. There is no alternative. There is no option of fine. I said I won't do it. So they coined some strange things, suspended me for 6 months. And because they didn't have any solid thing to show, they have gone to Alieze, who was bossa. They have told him, please find something against Professor Lale. Some approval that he shouldn't have done, some like approval above his limit, some. He told them that this guy is very careful. There is no such thing. And when they pressurized him and he wasn't doing it, they threatened him that if something will happen. The man said, we're ready for that. He survived it. The third one is about a gentleman who incidentally is not here, but I insisted that his first son should be here. Noble Odoy, standing for his dad. You can see that. His father was in charge of the electrical section of the university. His name is Ukabewe Odoy. Fantastic gentleman. And the guy didn't tell me about the thing, but one time, who was a chaplain then? The one that Ume took over from. Who is that? Was it Wanchuku? Huh? Correct. The guy had come for Thanksgiving. At that time, he was over 65. He mounted the rostrum, got to a point, he broke down. He was crying profusely. Say, I almost died. I almost died. They almost killed me. I almost died. And then he finished and left. They consoled him. So it was my friend. But I didn't know he was even doing that Thanksgiving. So when I went outside, I met him. I said, Odoy, why will you do this now? You didn't even tell me. So at least I would have done one or two things. You didn't tell me. It's where he said, you know, the one thing. Then I asked him, but by the way, why were you crying like that? He told me a bizarre story. He said, these people who were fighting me had come to him to disable the electrical facility. Because at that time, I got the university to a point where having almost 24 hours light. The staff who are here can say it. Staff were staying longer in office, students were staying in classrooms, studying, and they didn't like that. They wanted that to become another point for fighting. The man said, but Professor Lale hasn't done anything. Why would he do that? And because he didn't do that, you know, they began to threaten him, to send him messages, threat notes. He survived those. When that couldn't work, they began to carry pots of juju and then place him in front of his office. He will come to work and there will be a pot of juju in front of the office. And then I remember the book by Chukwuemeka Ike, The Naked Gods. I was talking with Idewu Olayinka in the hotel, and I told him I knew what, you know, it was a satire about the university. I didn't believe that people in the academia can go to that extent, carry pots of juju. They might almost die, but the guy is alive. Your dad is still alive, right? I just want to thank my family. They stood by me all these years. I'm sure that, who are those? My testimony is in the back. Take your time and read my testimony, because I haven't done a whole lot to it, but just to make sure. They supported me so much. God saved me. As you have seen me, I've had 2 CT brain scans from a fall or from falls. I've had all sorts of situations. Even recently, I was telling my two boys that as this thing was coming, I was asking myself, God, will my children meet me alive? I've had all sorts of health challenges. And when they eventually came and they came straight to my office, they didn't know. So there was somebody else. As I heard them, I almost wept. That God's grace has been more than sufficient. I thank you all for listening.
Wow. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, that's a huge hug coming from the wife to tell you that this was properly done. And to God be all the, Onene is giving dad a bear hug. Jira, you're doing all the same. Huh? Okay, Alhaji Hamza Lale for the father figure is also giving. It's so brilliant, so beautiful. Thank you so much for bearing with us. We will get the music department of our Savior's Chapel to give a number, and then we take the chairman's closing remark, and then they will give us Hallelujah chorus, and then we will go in for what I like very much. That is the period of opportunity. Because I tell people, sir, Mr. Chairman, that opportunity may be once, but opportunity is always. And we're going to go out for opportunity. Music, are you ready for us? Let's serenade the place a little with music. Prof, please.
And now the end is near, and so he faced the final curtain. My Prof, you said it clear, you state his case, of which he's certain. He has lived a life that's full. He's traveled each and every highway and more. Much more than this, he did it his way.
Regrets, you've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. You did what you had to do and saw it through without exemption. You've planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, you did it your way. Yes, at times, I'm sure you when it all what's done true, but through it all, when there was time, and it's not all, it's been all, and face it all, and stood tall. You see all.
Oh, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the kind permission of Dr. William Wadi to call on the.
Okay. Before the chairman's closing remarks, may I most respectfully request everybody in the auditorium to stand. We will sing happy birthday to Professor Lale. Please, happy birthday to him. It's his 70th birthday. Before the chairman speaks. Thank you, Chairman, sir. Please, thank you for honoring Professor Lale. You may resume your seats.
Good afternoon. My closing remark will sound like vote of thanks. I want to thank every one of you for coming to this very great ceremony. I also want to thank Professor Lale for accepting to be hosted here. And the IAU community, for agreeing for us to have this ceremony here. And please, don't rush to go. If you're living just by your right, you will see canopy there, just branching there. If you take a bottle of water, you take, or a bottle of coke, you take from us. On that note, Professor Lale and this assembly, please permit me to officially close the first part of this ceremony. So I declare this first part closed. Thank you very much, and happy birthday, sir. Thank you. Please,
Vice Chancellor, please come. Stand here. Professor Lale and his wife. Your Grace, please. Our Archdeacon, Professor Salayinka and Fabo, please. Where's is he gone? Yes, please. We want a group photograph of them. Registrar of the University of Port Harcourt Librarian, can you come? Yeah. Chaplain, our civil chapel, please, can you come? Professor Gale, come here. Professor Gale, please, can you come? Sir? Oh, Madam Chaplain, yeah. My mother didn't leave my father as a reverend's wife. She was always by his side. Please, inside, no? No, you have to go inside. You and Madam will be inside there. All right. Okay, please. Professor Gale, can you kindly close up? Thank you. Sir? We are set. We'll take this one and then. Are we done? We have just a minute more. Just a minute more. Thank you. All right. Please, Prof, we have not finished, so we'll do a lawyer chorus. Please, BC, they will sing a lawyer chorus. Can you kindly stand where you are? Shall we please stand for a lawyer chorus? Please, let's honor God. Let's honor the lyrics of Hallelujah chorus. Please, Hallelujah chorus.
Thank you. The Music Ministry of Our Savior's Chapel, Interdenominational Protestant Chaplaincy of the University of Port Harcourt. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, VC. Thank you, Dr. William Wardy, for directing the affairs the way it is going.
Thank you.